iConz of Rock presents.
So when you came to LA, what year was that? And then you've been through all these incarnations of being with people. You became the brand we know today, Neil Merryweather. When did you come to LA, and when did it suddenly occur to you that you should just be yourself instead of messing around with all of these other constituents?
Well, when the Flying Circus thing, when I left that, I wanted to put a band specifically together to come to Los Angeles. So I met my old friend, my closest friend as band members, Jim Livingston, on the street. And I said, I want to go to LA, and we decided to form a band. So we got our old keyboard player, Ed Roth, back in, and we auditioned some other players and formed this group in my grandmother's basement, the house I was raised in.
Right.
And for a while we were called New King Boiler, named after the furnace down there. It had embossed on it, New King Boiler. We thought that was cool. But we also, Bruce was busted in LA and was forced to come back to Toronto. So he had to leave the Buffalo Springfield because he had a little accident with his Corvette in Topanga with a shoebox full of pot on the dash.
Oops.
He went off the road and it spewed all over things. So when the cops came, they noticed he didn't have a green card, checked him out, deported him. And Jim Messina stepped in at that point. But Bruce was back in town, and we had talks with him, and he just put the LA sunshine in our brain. So we rehearsed and cut 3 demos and had this acetate and got the drummer's brother to offer to drive us there. He was a horrible driver, so me and Jimmy did most of the driving. 2.5 days later, we're in Los Angeles, and we went straight to the Strip and to see the whiskey and everything, and all that. Yeah. And stayed in the Hollywood Center Motel. And it's the same motel that Bruce and Neil Young saw when they came down the street looking to find a place to stay. Everybody got to Sunset and Highland. Sure. And you look around, where do we stay? There's the Hollywood Center Motel. It goes back to the 20s.
I've stayed there too.
Yeah. So we wound up there, and we saw these band pictures in the lobby because all these bands would wind up there, So we're in LA and wound up then in Topanga Canyon through a connection with through Bruce Palmer at Linda Stevens' house, this singer folk girl, and she put us up, and we sent for our equipment and got a deal. We played with Chicago at the Whiskey and got a deal with Capitol. And during this time, prior to that, we had to drop Jimmy out of the band. He got too absorbed in Topanga and partying and not being Jimmy, so it became me then fronting the band. So I started writing all the songs, and I never liked my name Lily. Now I love it. I'm thinking about it, and it's great. I got a plaid somewhere out there, and from Welsh and Scottish ancestry, and quite a mixture. And I thought one day I'm going to shorten. Can't be Heather Merryweather. That was the name of the band, named after this poem that we wrote the song, blah blah blah. And there's no Heather Merryweather. People would come up to me and say, "Who you play with?" Heather Merryweather. How is she? Is she a good singer? No, there's no Heather Merryweather. So I shortened it to Merryweather, talked it over with the producer and my manager, and basically we set up Merryweather Music. I wrote all the songs, so I thought, this time I'm not going to be in a band that if something happens, I put all of this into it, and there's nothing ringing with the name. So I like the name Neil Merryweather, and I bounced it off of Linda Ronstadt. We were sitting out in front of Capitol Tower on the curb, and she was waiting for her producer to come to town to start her album, and we were talking and everything, and here comes the producer around the corner, and she jumps up and to run to him, and she turns around, she says, "It was great meeting you, Neil Merryweather." And that was it. It just sounded great.
From the lips of Linda Ronstadt, right?
Yeah.
So that's how you became on the curb outside Capitol, huh?
Yeah, that's where it clinched it, because she knew that my band was called Merryweather and I was Neil, so she put that together somehow, and it sounded good. So
all you trivia buffs out there, now you know that Neil Merryweather was actually born on Vine Street in Hollywood, not in Toronto.